The U.S. President Donald Trump has been holding their summit over the last half an hour or so. They were scheduled to take about an hour, but yeah, seems to have ended a little sooner than that. And we're going to get the signing of a revised free trade agreement between South Korea and the U.S. Now, as soon as the pictures of that come in, we'll cut to that right away. But in the meantime, can I turn to you, Ji-won, let's talk a little bit more about this free trade agreement that the U.S. and South Korea are agreeing to. So what are some of these changes and what are some of the things that we're going to see here?
Sure, Jang-ho. So this deal will be revised for the first time in 6 years, and it was at the request of Washington. And one of the deals, revised deal includes that the U.S. will extend a tariff of 25% on imports of Korean pickup trucks by another 20 years, and that is 2041. And that is, according to many experts, expected to set hurdles for Korean exporters beyond the previously agreed deadline. And also in the pharmaceutical sector, South Korea also agreed to revise its premium pricing policy for global innovation drugs to ensure non-discriminatory and fair treatment of U.S. pharmaceutical exports. And the two sides also agreed to make minor edits to the investor-state dispute settlement clause, and this is to improve the transparency of anti-dumping and countervailing duty proceedings. And many experts have been saying that while South Korea has made concessions in its automobile, the pickup truck sector, the U.S. has made concessions in loosening the investor-state dispute settlement to make trade between the two countries a little easier as well.
Yes, as we mentioned earlier as well. So this new free trade agreement has come as much comfort for South Korean businesses here as well, because when President Trump first took office a year and a half ago, he did threaten that he was going to scrap the free trade agreement entirely. But now the fact that they've renegotiated and have a new free trade deal perhaps suggests that, you know, it's certainly better than starting from scratch. Yes. So there's a base to work with, and hopefully the South Korean markets will be able to take this on the chin and be able to move on from here as well. And hopefully, although this has mean a revision of the free trade deal and there might be some restrictions and some new limitations, hopefully it will mean that they can carry on as normal and see very little bumps in the road.
Yes, in fact, before the two leaders actually started their summit about an hour ago, President Trump said he is really looking forward to this revised pact, which he actually referred to as a brand new agreement. And he also added that he is very excited for this new deal. And South Korean President Moon Jae-in also said that he hopes this new deal will improve the trade balance between them, and that he also looks forward to this trade deal improving, taking their trade relations to another level.
Sure, as we said, that meeting, we saw the opening remarks between the two leaders. That's the footage we're seeing right now, and this was just about an hour ago. And so it shows the meeting went probably smoothly. The free trade deal agreement was probably all lined up beforehand anyway, just maybe a couple of final details, yes. Crossing the T's and dotting the I's.
Yes, Jang-ho, in fact, the deal has been almost agreed. Everything has been unchanged. I believe nothing has been changed since the actually working level meetings have taken place in March. I believe it was in the U.S. And yes, we are hoping to see that nothing tremendous, big surprises, yes, have been made in the deal, and that the two leaders are just here to finally sign the deal and actually have it ratified.
So we will be getting the signing of the free trade agreement in just a few moments' time. As soon as those pictures come in, we'll cut to those scenes that are happening in New York. And of course, you know, we'll see if there are any remarks about the meeting the South Korean leader and the U.S. president have had over the last hour. Of course, on the free trade deal, but also on the other issues that are taking up the headlines right now, which is between the U.S. and North Korea issue as well, and about denuclearization. And this meeting, of course, comes just a week after South Korean President Moon Jae-in met with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in Pyongyang over 3 days, where they discussed the various issues such as inter-Korean ties, but also the denuclearization issue with the U.S. Now, let's, Chi-won, I think we've got a little bit of time before those pictures come in for the free trade agreement signing. Let's talk a little bit about the opening remarks that we heard about an hour ago between President Trump and Moon Jae-in as well. There, they just laid out very briefly what they're going to be talking about and what they're going to be, what the issues they're going to tackle. And let's start with President Moon Jae-in. What did he say about that he was going to talk about?
Well, South Korean President Moon Jae-in actually told President Trump that he actually has a personal message from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, which Kim would want to deliver to President Trump. And Moon Jae-in also said that he will discuss with President Trump on the details of his summit with the North Korean leader. And one of the things that President Moon said was that he would like to emphasize on the point that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has actually made his willingness to denuclearize an official one this time. It was actually it was actually the first time that we've seen a footage of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un saying with his own words that he is willing to denuclearize. And President Moon also said he would like to thank Mr. Trump for bringing South Korea, North Korea, and the U.S. and the whole world until this point in making this much progress in the denuclearization talks with the North.
So yes, President Moon said, gave a lot of credit towards President Trump. He has done in the last few months as well, saying without Trump, none of this progress so far could have been possible. And
yes.
Yeah, giving a lot of credit, yes, to Trump.
Yes, in fact, according to President Moon, North Korean leader Kim also expressed his great trust and confidence and gratitude to President Trump, and that Kim also hopes to meet President Trump sometime soon in the near future to solve this denuclearization problem.
Of course, Donald Trump as well, as soon as President Moon said that as well, he said himself that he is very much looking forward to and that they are arranging a second North Korea-U.S. summit. Can you elaborate a bit more on what President Trump said there as well?
Yes, President Trump said that, like you said, he has been, for the past few days, saying that he will be meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un very soon for their second summit. But he also added that they are in no rush and that he does not want to rush into making a deal with the North Koreans. But in fact, President Trump's Secretary of State Mike Pompeo also said in an television interview just a few days ago that he is hoping to go back to Pyongyang before too long to make some more progress, and that he is also very hopeful that Kim Jong-un and President Trump will get a second chance to meet in the near future as well.
So yes, a second summit between President Trump and Kim Jong-un on the cards very soon, perhaps. Well, that's what Trump has said, and also Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. One of the things he also mentioned, though, as well, he says it'll be a similar format to the summit that they held in Singapore, but a different location. So perhaps some few details that Trump has mentioned there as well. We can only speculate where it could be. It could be in Pyongyang.
Yes.
I mean, there was even talk about a Kim Jong-un coming to New York this week for the UN General Assembly, but that didn't quite work out that way.
Yes.
But we'll have to see whether Kim Jong-un would go to the US or whether Trump would go to Pyongyang or a different location. There was also talks of such as places as Switzerland back in the day as well.
If you look at how the first summit, the historic summit went between the two leaders, there were a lot of speculations on the date, the timing, and the location before it was announced. And I remember having to speculate all these different places and location and the timings. And we were actually, and Singapore was in fact one of the destinations, one of the venues that many experts had pointed out, and it in fact turned out to be the venue of the first historic summit between the two leaders.
There's also our other morning anchor, Mark Broom, who's put his money on a possible Kim-Trump summit happening in Trump's holiday resort of Mar-a-Lago. Yes. But we'll have to see whether that happens that way as well.
Yes.
So.
But I'm not sure if it is going to happen that easily because the UN representative from Washington, Nikki Haley, said in an interview that meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is itself a bonus. She said that the U.S. will have to receive something from North Korea before giving, like meeting with North Korean leader Kim. So, with these kind of different stances on whether what President Trump's meeting with Kim Jong-un actually means, I'm not sure how this will all roll out.
I think that's why today's meeting between President Trump and President Moon is so important, because President Moon has said himself that he has come with a personal message from Kim Jong-un to Donald Trump, and it's expected that in that message will be some sort of agreement, that some sort of offer that North Korea will make to the U.S., that the U.S. can take, and also perhaps make a reciprocal offer, because that's what the North Koreans have requested, and in writing as well. For example, as we mentioned earlier in the earlier broadcast about an hour ago, when South Korea and North Korea made their agreement last week, the Pyongyang Declaration that they're calling it, the Pyongyang Joint Declaration, they specified that North Korea would take more actions, more steps towards denuclearization, but only if the U.S. comes with their own reciprocal countermeasures as well.
Yes.
So we're going to see today between President Moon and President Trump, aside from the FTA agreement, is whether there's going to be any announcement about U.S. taking any steps towards giving these kind of countermeasures to North Korea. Perhaps I might be hoping for too much, but those are the hints we're trying to see whether there's any movement there.
Yes. And to add on to that reciprocal measure that North Korea is looking forward from the U.S. is most likely to be the declaration of the end of the Korean War. Jang-ho, as you know, what North Korea wants from U.S. has been the declaration to end the Korean War, as it is seen as the first steps of actually making a peace treaty between the two sides. And that hasn't been really easy because apparently the two sides have different meaning on the declaration. South Korean President Moon Jae-in told reporters last week this week, right after his summit with the North Korean leader, he said North Korea and South Korea have the same concept and meaning of what this whole declaration means, and that is the political announcement to end the war. And it also can be seen as a beginning step for their peace agreement. And he also said that it is to carry out the promises that were made some 65 years ago to really cease fire and head towards peace. But what South Korean President Moon Jae-in also said is that it seemed like what this declaration, the meaning of this declaration conveyed to the U.S. may be a little different to what North Korea and South Korea really think. He said that the U.S. maybe is thinking that this agreement, this declaration, may work as a peace agreement, and that could be dangerous because it may have far-reaching repercussions, such as withdrawing the UN command and American troops in the South. And that's not something President Trump wants, and so I think he is very careful in actually declaring an end to the Korean War.
Of course, ending the Korean War is something South Korean president has stressed is very much needed to try and make progress towards making more permanent peace, and also towards the denuclearization issue of North Korea as well. President Moon has argued that without this kind of declaration to end the Korean War, that it'd be very hard to convince North Korea to give up their nuclear weapons. But at the same time, the hawks, in the U.S. and even the conservative-minded people in South Korea would argue that it's dangerous to go towards a declaration to end the war without North Korea first giving up its nuclear weapons first.
Yes.
That is what they've stressed. Whether they have to meet halfway is the question we're going to see, because I think the U.S. has given mixed messages over what they're going to do with North Korea as well. For example, Trump has been very saying we want to, he's going to be trying to, he's very much open about declaration to end the war. But then the State Department is saying no denuclearization, no declaration to end the war.
In fact, according to a report by Vox last month, it said that President Trump promised North Korean leader Kim Jong-un soon after their first meeting in Singapore, first and the only meeting in Singapore in June, that he will end the Korean War sometime very soon. And so, according to Vox, it's kind of obvious that North Korea was waiting for the U.S. to take these kind of significant measures towards the peace agreement between the two. But because the U.S. has been playing so hard to get in this declaration of the end of the Korean War, many experts also said that it is kind of reasonable for North Korea to be unhappy with the current stalemate between the two sides. And because the U.S. has been worrying about these far-reaching repercussions the declaration may bring, the South Korea, the President Moon Jae-in, who has been voluntarily playing the role of mediator, has been active in saying that this declaration will not weaken the U.S.-South Korea alliance or lead to the withdrawal of U.S. troops in the South. The North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has also said that to South Korean President Moon Jae-in's special envoy just a few weeks ago, and South Korean President Moon also said this at the press conference after his summit with North Korean leader last week. But whether or not the U.S. has gotten this message, or whether or not they will really believe and trust North Korea on this, is something that President Trump has to decide. And I really hope that President Moon was able to convince President Trump during his summit with Trump just a few minutes ago.
Sure. I mean, it is interesting that President Trump has very much touted this declaration to end the war as something that he's very much willing to do and work with North Korea if possible. And there was even rumors that during their summit in June that they were going to, before the summit happened between North Korea and the U.S. in Singapore, there were rumors that there was going to be some sort of signing of a declaration to end the war. Of course, that didn't really happen, and perhaps everyone was hoping for too much at the time. But this declaration to end the war continues to be an issue that the two sides are negotiating over. Now, right now, as we are, for those joining us now, we are waiting to see the formal signing of the revised free trade agreement between between South Korea and the U.S. That's expected to come in any moment now. But in the meantime, I'm here with Lee-Ji-won, our Foreign Ministry correspondent, to continue talking about some of the issues that are being raised here today.
Sure, Jang-ho. So you said that there were some rumors that that North Korea, the United States, may actually sign some kind of declaration for North Korea before their historic summit in June. And many of us thought that because there are a lot of concessions North Korea actually made before the summit, including the return of 3 American detainees and the actual dismantlement of its Punggye-ri nuclear test site. So but many say that this was not enough because Punggye-ri nuclear test site may always be recovered and it hasn't been inspected by overseas experts, so they are not sure if it was actually permanently dismantled. And many of them also say that the fact President Trump chose to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is already a huge concession the U.S. has made. So there are a lot of things that the two sides exchanged, but apparently the trust issue seems to be the main one that the two sides have to still overcome.
Sure, and last week in the Pyongyang joint declaration between South Korea and North Korea outlined further steps that they're going to take towards towards denuclearization, such as shutting down and dismantling the Tongchangli missile test site and launch pad. And they even said that they are willing to work towards dismantling the Yongbyon nuclear facility as well. But there are still many critics who would say actually shutting down Tongchangli and even shutting down Yongbyon is actually not that a bigger concession to the US, because they're not giving up their nuclear weapons that they already have. We don't know how many nuclear weapons that they have. The US are reportedly asking the North Korea for at least a list of what they have and what the sites that they have, and to reveal more about their nuclear program. But North Korea so far have only said, look, we're going to shut down these sites, and they right now have said, we're going to shut down these sites. The US, what are you going to give for us? The question is, will the US give anything?
Well, I want to look at it on a brighter side, because Secretary Pompeo, in his interview just a few days ago, actually said that these conversations on dismantling these nuclear facilities and particular weapon system are currently underway. And what North Korea actually said is that it will invite the overseas experts to its nuclear facilities when they actually choose to dismantle them. And Pompeo, just a day after that was announced, Secretary Pompeo said that IAEA experts and experts from Washington are ready, and that they will go to North Korea whenever they can to actually inspect these facilities when North Korea decides to shut them down.
Sure, that was quite a surprise, because in the joint Pyongyang declaration that the South Korea and North Korea reached last week, they outlined that they will shut down Tongchangli nuclear test site, but under the watch of international experts, but not the specific details about who would go inspect these sites. They just said international experts, I believe.
Yes.
Then the next day, the US, Mike Pompeo comes out and says, actually, it's going to be IAEA inspectors and US inspectors that are going to who are going to check the dismantling of the missile test site. But the State Department also said, actually, this is a given. If we're going to have inspectors there, of course it's going to be
shared understanding. Shared
understanding is the word you use. Thank you. And it's going to be IAEA and US inspectors.
Well, according to Pompeo, they said that they are currently talking about these particular facilities and particular weapon system. So we're hoping that if the summit, if there is some substantive talks agreed between President Moon and President Trump just at their summit just now, maybe there could be some significant announcements that can be made.
Now, we are waiting to see footage, live footage from New York, where President Moon Jae-in and President Trump are going to sign a revised free trade agreement between the two nations. Now, while we wait for that to happen, we're going to look back now at the opening remarks that the two leaders made before they started their summit just over an hour ago. Let's take a listen to what they had to say.
We met in May in the Washington, and I'm very much delighted to meet you again. Thank you for your support. I have returned safely from Pyongyang. The two Koreas have reached a very good agreement, and we've made great progress on North Korea's denuclearization. I also have a message from Chairman Kim Jong-un to deliver to you, Mr. President, and I'm very much delighted to be able to share with you the details of the discussions that I had with Chairman Kim Jong-un immediately after I returned from Pyongyang. I hope to contribute to the complete denuclearization, establishment of peace regime on the Korean Peninsula, and resumed talks between the U.S. and the second U.S.-North Korea summit. In particular, Chairman Kim declared in front of the global media his intentions to denuclearize, and I addressed 150,000 Pyongyang citizens to stress the denuclearization agreements that I've reached with Chairman Kim. They're of great significance. Now, North Korea's intentions to relinquish its nuclear capabilities has become official and cannot be reversed anymore. Thanks to President Trump's bold determination and a new approach, we're now solving an issue that hasn't been solved for decades by anyone. I would like to thank you for that. Chairman Kim Jong-un also expressed his unwavering trust for President Trump. As you are the only person who can resolve the issue, he expressed his hopes to meet with you at an early date. And I also hope for the success of U.S.-North Korea summit in the near future. Regarding the FTA negotiations, I believe that the robust Korea-U.S. alliance has been extended to the economic realm. By revising the FTA, the trade relations between Korea-U.S. will be freer, fairer, and it will bring reciprocal benefits to each of our countries. I believe it can help promote our economic cooperation to the next level. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. It's a pleasure to see you again at 4 months.
Those were President Moon Jae-in's remarks just about an hour ago before he went for his summit meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump, where, as you mentioned there, he'll discuss various issues from the North Korea meeting last week and the free trade agreement that they are expected to sign any minute now, and as soon as we get footage of that in, we will cut to that. But in the meantime, let's look back at President Moon's a bit more at his remarks there just now. So he talked about the meeting he had with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un last week. That was quite a important seminal moment for the South Korea and North Korea as well. Of course, we've had previous inter-Korean summits between the North Korean and South Korean leaders, and in North Korea as well. But this time it was over 3 days, and there were lots of firsts. I mean, what stood out for you over the last 3 days, over those 3 days last week?
Well, Jung-ho, like you said, there were a lot of firsts in this summit between South Korean President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. One of them was that it was the first time North Korean leader Kim Jong-un held a summit in Pyongyang. He so far had summits with Chinese President Xi Jinping, South Korean President Moon Jae-in, and U.S. President Donald Trump. But all of them were held outside of North Korea, including China, Singapore, and South Korea. But so it was the first time for North Korean leader to actually host one in his own country or his own state. And it was also the first time for the two first ladies of the two Koreas to meet in Pyongyang. Former first ladies also accompanied their presidents back in 2000 and 2007, President Kim Dae-jung and President Roh Moo-hyun, respectively. But back then, North Korean leader Kim Jong-il never really presented his wife in public. So the meeting between the first ladies of the two Koreas never really took place. But this time, it was the second time for the two first ladies of the two Koreas to meet. And it was also the first time that the summit between the two leaders were not held in Baekgwon. Like I said, there were two other inter-Korean summits that were held in Pyongyang, but all of them were held in Baekgwon, which is the state guest house where the South Korean president stayed. And for this summit, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un actually opened the headquarters of the Workers' Party's, the ruling Workers' Party, which held a significant meaning because the Workers' Party's headquarters is where North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's office is, and it's also where all the major decisions of the party is made. And the fact that he's revealed this to the South Korean president actually meant that he really welcomes him into his into his office area, and that he really is sincere about talking with the South Korean leader.
Yes, sure. Welcoming President Moon into the belly of the North Korean government beast, shall we say.
Yes.
Now, as we're seeing this footage right now, this was last week, the first, when they first met at the airport in Pyongyang between President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And Kim Jong-un, as we can see here, really did roll out the red carpet here. As we can see, President Moon Jae-in is receiving a guard of honor, and there's North Korean public there as well, yes, welcoming him, waving the unified Korean flag and some flowers, and the North Korean flag there, of course, as well. I think one of the most notable things about this summit as well was the fact that President Moon had so much interaction with the North Korean public as well. There was so much, he was greeted by them everywhere he went. There was a massive car parade, which I think we're about to see as well.
Yes. He actually greeted the North Korean people in surprise when he had his second-day dinner at the Daedonggang Seafood Restaurant. I believe he arrived there a bit earlier than North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, and so he had a few minutes in his hands. And he approached the North Korean people who were having dinner at their tables, and he actually went up and said, well, hello, are you enjoying your dinner? What are you eating? We're planning to have our dinner here as well. He made these really random comments, and apparently the North Koreans didn't know the South Korean president was going to have his dinner there. So they were really caught off guard, and they were really surprised to see him there. But while they were surprised, it seemed like South Korean President Moon Jae-in really had a genuine opportunity to approach them and really have their one-on-one moment with the North Korean public.
Sure, and I think one of the most another first this time was the fact that President Moon Jae-in not only met the North Korean public like this on the street, but he also addressed them en masse. For example, he gave a speech at the Mayday Stadium just after they held these mass games for him, which was obviously, I'm sure many of our viewers have seen, where the thousands of, tens and thousands of performers made these incredible, like, synchronized performances for the celebration of the regime. And at the end of it, President Moon Jae-in addressed the public there, reportedly over 150,000 North Korean public there. And he gave a speech for 7 minutes outlining what he hopes for a unified Korea and a prosperous future for the two Koreas as well. That was, I think, one of the most momentous and one of the most important parts of this three-day summit as well.
Yes, in fact, it did seem that President Moon Jae-in's speech really touched the hearts of many North Korean people as they made a standing ovation after his speech.
Now, for our viewers who are just joining us, we are now finally getting footage of the signing of the FTA between South Korea and the U.S. That's about to happen now. Let's take a listen in and see what they've got to say.
Thank you very much. I'm thrilled to formally announce the successful completion of the new U.S.-Korea trade deal. It's a very big deal. This is a great day for the United States and a great day for South Korea. I want to thank President and Vice President. Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much. I'd like to thank our great Vice President Pence for joining us today for the ceremony, and U.S. Trade Representative Bob Lighthizer for his incredible efforts. He's worked very, very hard on this. Thank you all as well to Treasury Secretary Mnuchin and Director of National Economic Council, Larry Kudlow, for their tremendous work. Everybody's worked very, very hard. This is long in coming. Many years, actually, I will say, in coming. In a few moments, we will sign a document pledging that our countries will take the additional necessary steps to implement the new United States-Korea Trade Agreement. I want to express my gratitude to President Moon and his entire team for their dedicated efforts to reach really what we would call a historic milestone in trade, something that most people thought was not going to be happening. From day one, I promised the American people that I would renegotiate our trade deals to ensure that our agreements were fair and reciprocal. For decades, politicians have talked about fixing broken trade deals only to do absolutely nothing about them. My administration is the first to actually keep our promise and deliver. And in addition to this deal, we have many in the works, and they're fair deals, they're reciprocal deals, and they make a tremendous difference to our workers, our companies, and to the United States as a whole. The new U.S.-Korea agreement includes significant improvements to reduce our trade deficit and to expand opportunities to export American products to South Korea. In other words, we are now going to start sending products to South Korea. These outcomes give the finest American-made automobiles, innovative medicines, and agricultural crops much better access to Korean markets. I think our farmers are going to be extremely happy. It was very limited as to what they could do and what they could send, and now it's an open market, and they're going to be sending a lot more farm products. That makes me feel very good. I love our farmers. As a part of this agreement, we have also secured increased access to America's auto industry. South Korea will double the annual number of American cars sold within. In other words, we used to sell a maximum of 25, and we wouldn't even get to that number. And now we're going to $50,000. We're doubling it per manufacturer, and that's a doubling. So it's 50,000 per manufacturer cars, and that's each year. So that's a doubling of the cars per manufacturer that can enter its market, meeting U.S. safety standards. So we're going with now a U.S. safety standard. The standard was at a point that you couldn't get cars in. So we're going to the U.S. safety standard. Very important to understand. This agreement will reduce bureaucracy and increase prosperity in both of our countries. Workers in South Korea and America will find new customers and new opportunities to expand and grow. Our teams will be working hard to ensure that the terms of the deal are fully implemented. President Moon, I just want to tell you we've developed a great relationship on many different fronts. This one is on trade, but we're working very well on North Korea. A lot of very positive things are happening with Chairman Kim of North Korea, and you'll be hearing about that over the coming weeks. But I think some really, really important things are happening. As I said just a little while ago, we have an agreement to work out another summit, and we look forward to doing that. I'm going to be meeting with Chairman Kim in the not-too-distant future. The location is being worked on, the time is being worked on, and we'll be announcing it. As far as these negotiations, our two countries have set an example of friendship and cooperation for trade that rarely you see in this age. And I just want to tell you I'm very honored to be a part of it, and I'm honored to call you a friend, and I'm honored to say that the United States and South Korea have a great friendship together. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
감사합니다. 오늘 한국의 문재인 대통령과 함께 한미 무역 협정의 아주 성공적인 새로운 타결을 공식적으로 발표하게 되어서 매우 기쁘게 생각합니다. 오늘은 미국의 굉장히 위대한 날이고 또 한국에도 매우 위대한 날입니다. 펜스 부통령이 오늘 이 서명식을 함께 해준 데 대해서 감사를 드리고 또 많은 노력을 기울여준 미국 무역 대표부 밥 라이트하우저 대표 그리고 또 스티븐 매뉴친 재무장관, 레리 커들로 백악관 국가경제위원장에게도 많은 노력 감사드립니다. 조금 후에 우리는 새로운 한미 무역 협정을 시행하기 위한 추가적인 필요 조치에 양국이 약속하는 그러한 문건에 서명할 것입니다. 이 역사적인 그런 이정표에 도달하기 위해서 노력해준 문 대통령과 그 팀 그리고 우리 팀에 매우 감사를 드립니다. 나는 취임 첫날부터 미국 국민들에게 공정하고 또 상호 호혜적인 그러한 방식으로 무역 협정을 재협상할 것이라고 약속을 했습니다. 그리고 수십 년간 많은 정치인들이 잘못된 무역 협정을 고치겠다고 얘기를 했습니다만은 한 번도 이루어진 것은 없습니다. 우리 행정부야말로 실제 우리 약속을 했고 또 그 약속을 지킨 첫 행정부입니다. 우리는 그 이뿐 한국뿐만 아니라 다른 그 국가와도 공정하고 또 상호 호혜적인 그러한 협상을 계속할 것입니다. 오늘 그 서명하게 되는 새로운 한미 무역 협정은 우리 미국의 투자 적자를 줄이고 또 미국 상품이 한국에 수출하게 되는 그런 많은 기회를 더욱더 확대할 것입니다. 이러한 결과는 아주 좋은 미국 자동차라든지 혁신적인 의약품 또 그리고 농산물이 한국 시장 접근성을 더 많이 갖게 될 것입니다. 이것은 미국의 농부들이 아주 기뻐할 것이라고 생각이 됩니다. 그리고 또 이 협정문의 일환으로서 우리는 미국의 그 자동차 산업에 훨씬 더 많은 시장 접근성을 제공하고 있습니다. 이 협정을 통해서 미국 자동차는 미국의 안전 기준에 부합되는 그런 자동차를 매년 25,000대에서 훨씬 더 많은 2배, 제조업체당 1년에 2배의 그러한 그 자동차를 한국에 수출하게 될 것입니다. 그리고 이뿐만 아니라 많은 그러한 그 관료주의라든지 그러한 것들을 없앨 것이고 한국과 미국이 서로 새로운 고객을 찾는다든지 더 많은 성장 기회를 갖게 될 것입니다. 우리 양 팀은 이 협정의 조건이 충분히 시행되도록 노력할 것입니다. 지금 한국과 미국은 여러 그 부분에 있어서 상당히 좋은 그러한 관계를 가지고 있습니다. 오늘 이 점원식은 무역에 관한 것입니다만은 북한에 있어서도 많은 긍정적인 그런 변화가 이루어지고 있습니다. 아까도 말씀드렸습니다만은 큰 진전이 이루어지고 있고 우리는 그 미북 두 번째 정상회의를 준비하고 있습니다. 장소와 날짜는 또 앞으로 협의가 될 것입니다. 다시 한번 그 문재인 대통령 또 제가 친구라고 부르는 문재인 대통령과의 협력 또 한국과의 협력에 대해서 감사드립니다.
Thank you very much.
한미 양국은 굳건한
South Korea and the U.S. have robust alliance, and based on this alliance, we are witnessing unprecedented
우위를
friendship in the global arena. The FTA between South Korea and the U.S. is about expanding the alliance between the two countries to the economic realm. Today, we are making this alliance into a better FTA agreement, and I am very delighted to relinquish any kind of uncertainties in the economic sector, and we can usher in a more stable era for our two countries in terms of economic areas, and it will be more freer and more fair, and it will bring reciprocal benefits to both countries. Our two countries will support the spirit of the revised FTA, and we can usher in a better future by creating more jobs and opportunities for both of our people. The U.S.-Korea FTA can also contribute to other cooperation in other sectors as well. I would like to thank President Trump and his leadership to make the revision of the FTA into a big success. Thank you very much.
The Republic of Korea and the United States have been forging an unprecedentedly close friendship based on our rock-solid alliance. The free trade agreement between the Republic of Korea and the United States is significant in the sense that it expands the ROC-US alliance to economic realm as well. Today we have made amendments and modifications to improve the existing agreement. With the swift conclusion of the negotiations for the revision, uncertainties surrounding our FTA have been eliminated, and as a result, companies from both countries will now be able to do business under more stable conditions. In addition, I'm hopeful that this will provide us with a platform upon which our bilateral economic ties will be elevated to a higher level in a freer, fairer, and more mutually beneficial direction. If our two countries could live up to the spirit embodied in the revised ROC-US Free Trade Agreement, I believe that we will be able to expand mutual trade and investment, create new jobs, and usher in a better future. I hope the revision of the ROC-US FTA will also contribute towards solidifying our cooperation in other fields. I'd like to thank President Trump for his leadership role in ensuring the successful conclusion of the negotiations for the revision of this agreement. I would also like to commend all the members of our respective negotiating teams. Thank you.
So there we have it, the closing statements between President Moon Jae-in and President Donald Trump, but just before they signed the revised free trade agreement there. Now this is the first free trade agreement between South Korea and the U.S. to be signed in 6 years.
Yes.
And President Trump there outlined various things in his closing remarks there. He says he's keeping his campaign promise to renegotiate trade deals, and especially with South Korea as well.
I've never seen my name in Korean.
President Trump, they're
Looks nice.
making a little joke there. Those two there, seeing them, Ji-won, looking at them there, they do seem not the closest friendship, but they do seem to have some sort of kind of relationship there, it does seem.
Yes. A good one. Now, one of the agreements that President Trump mentioned in the newly revised FTA was that they expanded the export of American products to South Korea, including the agricultural crops and medicines. And President Trump also said that the U.S. has been able to secure more American cars in South Korea, from 25,000 to 50,000 annually.
And it seems Donald Trump is giving a present of a pen to the president there.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Seems President Trump there quite satisfied with his work there. So as we said, yes, President Trump very much stressed. Let's see if we can hear some more questions.
Fine man, a great scholar, great at everything he's ever done, and it would be sad indeed if something happened to reroute that. This is a fine man, and we certainly hope he's going to be confirmed, and quickly. His family has suffered. His family has suffered. What's going on is not something that should happen. Brett Kavanaugh is an absolute outstanding person. Hopefully, he will be confirmed quickly. Thank you very much.
There, President Trump just taking some more questions about the situation in the U.S. with Brett Kavanaugh. But we'll stick with the U.S.-South Korea free trade agreement that they just signed. He very much stressed the importance this is for the agriculture sector in the U.S. and for the automobile sector as well. And he also stressed there will be more in the works with other countries as well, other free trade agreement renegotiations. He also gave a little bit more about, reaffirmed that he will be meeting with Kim Jong-un in the not too distant future, his exact words there, and with a location and time to be announced. And if we just take a quick look at a recap of President Moon's comments as well, he said it was a very important in the South Korea and the U.S. alliance and friendship, and that hopefully this new revised trade deal will mean an expanding alliance, and that this hopefully takes away uncertainties and brings more stability to South Korea and the U.S. relationship, which I'm sure many of the South Korean markets and the South Korean businesses will be very much welcoming. Just to wrap things up, Ji-won, we just saw the signing there. They just heard their comments. We also heard their earlier comments in the opening remarks as well. You know, is there anything that you want to point out specifically? Any final remarks that you want to look at?
Well, like what President Moon Jae-in said, through this FTA, he hopes that the two sides will have reciprocal benefits and also expand their alliance in other areas as well. So hopefully all these can be kept.
Yes, reciprocal benefits, I think, is one of the main key issues that those two leaders pointed out there. Well, I'd like to thank Lee Ji-won, our Foreign Ministry correspondent, to keeping me company here for the last hour or so, and for earlier as well. But we'll both be back at 8 a.m. Korea time for more on the Moon-Trump meeting there and some of the outcomes that have not been announced yet. Hopefully get some of those more there, and that's where you'll be able to find the latest on that, and hopefully we'll have our expert in the studio as well to bring us more insights into the situation that's going on with South Korea, the US and North Korea as well. Hope you can join us then, and thank you for watching for now. Goodbye.